Did any of you go to the Hope Center workshop?
That's where I found out about lymphedema, not through the cancer clinic.
Yes, the Hope Center gives you a pamphlet to go to some sort of therapy with MLD, which means manual lymph drainage, or whatever, which is fine if you can afford it, or if you have some sort of medical coverage. But I look at it and think not very many people can afford it.
With my husband's health plan, I only get 10 massages per year.
You go to a pain management specialist and you get 17 different prescriptions for pills, no questions asked. But when you want to try an alternative like massage or acupuncture or something that will clear your brain a bit, you're on your own.
15 visits to the massage therapist or a week in Puerto Vallarta. Which do I choose?
You need something, though. You're searching for something, and these people are going to be compassionate to you. They're going to encourage you, and that's what I got out of it. I mean, that's what I was basically paying for.
But I think there's got to be a marriage of those two. One of my goals in life is having my surgeon understand that the breast care center needs to give more than good news or bad news to women. It needs to include the massage therapist, the nutritionist, the acupuncturist, whatever. Let the women decide. Some things help one person, some things help another. At least give me the option.
I think I'm doing well on my journey with lymphedema, having found, in particular, a lot of support from my massage therapist and my counselor. I don't know how much help massage truly is. I mean, it may be temporary, but the support I got is what I needed. She appeared when I needed her, and I just went to my appointments mostly to get that support. You come into her office and she sits you down and says, "Okay, tell me how you're doing." And I'm like, yatter, yatter, yatter. And I come away feeling like it wasn't just about the measurement. I had an identity. Now I can say, I don't feel so broken and burnt out.
I have a combination of things that I need to get on with my life now. I have antibiotics that I keep on hand in case I get an infection. The sleeve is what I have to wear every day to keep my lymphedema in check. I know it's not going to get any better, so this sort of keeps it from getting worse. I try to keep things in check, you know. The tape measure. There was a time where I used to measure obsessively. I don't do that anymore. 6 years I've been living with this. I have to look after my hygiene, and I'm very good at that. And there are certain creams that I can use. I no longer wear a watch. I wear nothing restrictive on my right arm anymore. There's nothing too deep. I've lived practically with lymphedema every day, and that's basically it.
Well, my story is one about losses. I was diagnosed 5 years ago with triple negative stage 4 breast cancer and given 6 weeks to live. That's essentially the jumping off point for this stage in my life. I've been through 11 surgeries. I've had 8 rounds of chemo, 31 rounds of radiation. I've lost my hair. I lost my fingernails, my toenails, lost half of my teeth, lost my vision. I was technically blind for about 1.5 years. And in that same period of time, the last 5 years, my husband died, my daughter died, and her husband died. So I've had extreme losses. I've lost my husband, my family, I've lost my career, I've lost my health, nearly lost my life, and I knew next to nothing about this disease until all of a sudden everything was being decimated around me. It's been an experience really of loss, but an experience also of doors opening when other doors closed. And a door door opened for me. Several doors opened for me, in fact. And one of those doors that opened for me was the massage therapist. And like others, I have had the same experience of being demoralized and disillusioned and frustrated. But I'd go to the massage therapist and we'd be talking, and she'd say, there. Now let's just get you better. And so she was a very good support person for me. And I also use the resources from the Canadian Cancer Society and routinely attend their conferences. But what I needed to know about lymphedema, I had to find out for myself. Nobody made it available to me. I had to go out and really be resourceful to find out what I needed to know, and I found that very strange. My support people were completely outside of the traditional cancer roles, and I found that very unusual. So I worked my way through it, and when I was first diagnosed, another friend suggested I use EFT, which means Emotional Freedom Technique. This is what I learned to do, and it's a technique that's outside of traditional medicine, very holistic, and very effective. So as you can see, I'm getting my health back, I'm not blind anymore, and I can credit all that to EFT. I used it through every session of my cancer treatment, and I credit that technique to much of my healing. I use it to control pain as well. What it is basically is an acupuncture technique using a tapping approach as opposed to using needles. My surgeon does not know I use it, but I know I use it. My GP knows I use it, and so does my massage therapist. My oncologist does not know I use it. But I had to work very hard to find the resources that I needed to heal on this journey. And now I think I have my health picture back, and I also have a little bit of joy in my life.
When I decided I would do a collage, all these words and pictures kept popping out at me. So I started with the image in the center. I wanted it to be obvious what I was talking about, so that's why I put the big arm in there. I went from there to the ugly side of things, where you feel your body image has changed. Piles of clothes and bras on the floor, because you just can't find anything to wear. You can't wear the pretty bras anymore. And then being aware of people looking at you, and of course thinking that they're thinking about your arm, whereas they're probably not. So words like, touch that, don't look, haunting, hide. That's when I realized how much anger I still had left. Okay, where did this all start? With the diagnosis of cancer. That afternoon, I looked up everything in the phone book that said cancer. And I phoned all of them and said, where do I go for help? What do I do? Then, 2 days later, I thought, oh, I guess I have to tell my husband. And I said to him, I have something to tell you, and from this moment on, our lives are going to be different. And it certainly has. So now that the cancer has happened, it just seems like I'm always reflecting on my outside image. But I'm also reflecting on the meaning of life. What would my daughter do without me? Will I be able to see her graduate? Will I hold her babies in my arms? Then I went to the cartoon picture of the doctor, because the doctors just don't seem to hear. At the same time, my surgeon would just sit down and he would hold my hand. He was so compassionate, and yet you feel so lost. So I put the words in, Have you ever looked down at a reflection of yourself? And that's my question to some of the medical professionals out there, who I think need not just look at what we're going through, but take a look at themselves and how they're responding to us. And so this doctor is kind of deaf and kind of complacent. He's not listening. And these are some of his thoughts, like, what ails you? These are just ghost tales. Do I need to talk to you now? Things to do, things not to do. So there are all sorts of words on my collage that I feel represent my perspective of what sometimes the doctors are thinking. I put on the words rent-a-wreck because often I feel like a wreck. I feel like the only reason I get answers is if I demand them. I want to move from the negative. And so the light in the picture takes me from negative to some of the positive thoughts. It represents coming out of the confusion boldly, like a pioneer. So this woman has found new knowledge. She is coming out. And yet, there's the big fat arm again. And so the words on the step say, the hardest part of this, meaning being brave enough to venture out in spite of the arm. So this woman has come through, and she's carried the light, a torch, and she's holding it with joy, with enthusiasm. Pictures of nature represent the sense of power I feel that I can conquer this, and it's not all dark. And here, I love this picture. Here are a couple of ladies in the ocean, and they look so happy. But in the background, there is a shark. And to me, it represents that we have to forge ahead, even though we know there's always that lurking cancer behind us. You're taught all your life that beauty is only skin deep. It's inside that counts. And I had to look at that again and really embrace it and redefine myself, because I feel like I've lost, who cares if I've lost a breast? I've lost so much more of my personality, of my sense of self, sense of purpose. And so this is the window to my soul, a treasure map to life, and how I can recover and find joy in friends and family.
But, you know what? You are going to have good days, but you're also going to have bad days.
And if it's one of those shit days, that's okay. And tomorrow will be better.
You can't expect that suddenly you're going to wake up and all of your woes are gone, but most of the time you can be happy and you can be engaged.
And some days you're going to sit down and have a big cry, and that's okay too.
We have been mutilated.
And left with massive bodily scars.
Many of us have come to the point of almost losing our lives.
Lymphedema is the cruel joke at the end of all this treatment.
It's permanent.
We can put on a brave face.
Wear our fake boobs.
Have multiple surgeries to try to look normal.
But our sexuality and our bodies have been compromised.
People need to understand that.
We need an audience that will hear us.
And do something about it.
Together.
Together.